What do you get when a Black Friday tragedy hits a little too close to home for someone? You get a Thanksgiving so bloody and brutal that no one will ever forget it. Join me as we look at Thanksgiving on this episode of Ringside Review. Welcome back to WWH. My name is Andrew Dreamer. Last year we got a brand new slasher movie from Eli Roth, and it was one that we had all been waiting for since 2007. You see, that year, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino were working on a double feature called Grindhouse. Between those two films, and kind of interspersed in between all of it, they wanted some mock trailers in that space, and one of those was made by Eli Roth, who basically tacked on a couple days of filming to the end of Hostel 2 to get it done. So we got this insane couple minutes that really left an impression. Since then, people have been clamoring to get that trailer turned into a full-length feature, and it took until 2023 to get that done. Essentially, that came down to the fact that they had to reverse engineer the film from the trailer. They had all of these kills, but no story around them, so it took a while to get that story in place. I'll let Eli Roth himself explain how they decided to go about it.
And the breakthrough was when we said, what if we just pretend Thanksgiving 1980 is a real movie that existed, that was made in 1980, and the day it came out, it was so shocking and offensive, every print was pulled from cinemas and ordered burned, and they were all destroyed. All the trailers were destroyed, the scripts were gone, the crew members went into hiding, the director disappeared. The only thing that survived was one copy of the trailer. That's like lurking in the darkest corners of the internet. So we said, okay, let's pretend that that's a real movie, and this is just a 2023 reboot of that.
I actually think that's a pretty creative way to do it. The thing is, this story really began long before 2007. You see, Eli Roth and Jeff Rendell have been friends since they were kids and have been working on this story ever since then, and I think that's really cool. Thanksgiving was finally released in 2023 and was directed by Eli Roth. The story was developed by Roth and Jeff Rendell, who wrote the screenplay. Overall, this movie is really good in my opinion. When I first reviewed it when it came out, I said it was decent, but I've watched it a few more times over the past year, and I like it more every time I see it. It's not perfect at all, but it has a lot of charm, and I think it captures the feel of an 80s slasher in a lot of ways, which I'll dive into more later. The film also features a talented cast. This includes established actors such as Patrick Dempsey, Rick Hoffman, and Gina Gershon. You also have young stars like Milo Manheim and Addison Rae. Then you have the newcomer Nell Verlaque, who is our protagonist in this movie. Like I said, I have talked about this movie before, so this is a rematch, but my thoughts have changed a bit. It is bell time though, so grab your popcorn and make your way to your seat. Let's head down to the ring for the plot. Thanksgiving Day in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The film opens up with a beautiful POV shot that is an homage to films such as Halloween and Black Christmas. Holiday horror gotta stick together. But this time, it's just Sheriff Eric Newline visiting his friends Mitch and Amanda for dinner. At the same time, Thomas Wright is having dinner with his family, which includes his daughter Jessica and his fiancée Kathleen. He calls Mitch and tells them that he has to go to work. Mitch is a manager at Wright Mart, which Thomas owns. So Mitch leaves his family to go to the store where a mob has formed outside the store by now. Later that night, Jessica is now with her friends Bobby, Evan, Scuba, Gabby, and Yulia. She lets them in the store early and the crowd sees them, causing an all-out riot. They all go crazy, literally busting down the doors, crushing and stampeding a security guard in the process. Hey, I guess they all just really want that waffle iron. In all the madness, Mitch's wife Amanda is killed in a pretty gnarly way along with the security guard and a customer. Bobby, trying to help the security guard, gets his arm shattered, basically ruining his baseball career. After the events of that night, Bobby leaves town, ghosting Jessica, who was his girlfriend at the time. Man, that was a hell of an opening. By the way, don't forget to body slam that subscribe button so you never miss any of the heart-pounding, chill-inducing 5-star matches we have here at WWH. We're not just wrestling with horror. We're delivering it to your screen every week. The next year, Wright Mart begins preparing for yet another Black Friday sale. Bobby returns to Plymouth, but tragedy strikes. A waitress named Lizzie is killed by a figure wearing a John Carver mask. Now, John Carver is actually the name of the first governor of Plymouth Colony. I mean, that's just the perfect name for a slasher villain, and history handed it to them. Lizzie was involved in the incident at Right Mart the previous year, and this leads police to believe that those involved are now being targeted. So now everybody is fittingly calling the killer John Carver. He begins to tag Jessica and her friends in some pretty dark social media posts, even sharing a picture of a Thanksgiving table with their names on place cards.
We're all tagged, and our names are at the table.
I mentioned that Bobby has returned to town, and he's been sort of reconnecting with Jessica, who is now dating another guy named Ryan. Ryan was actually at Right Mart the night of the incident as well, trying to hit on Jessica. Needless to say, Ryan and Bobby do not like each other at all.
This is new.
Yep, lots changed since you left.
Looks like it.
Meanwhile, John Carver is continuing his spree of Turkey Day tragedies. He kills the other security guard from Right Mart, Manny, in his apartment. Then he goes after 2 students from a rival high school, Lonnie and Amy. But he doesn't stop there. He then kidnaps Evan and Gabby from the school right before we get a classic slasher movie chase scene with Jessica. The events cause Yulia's dad, who, by the way, is 100% in the Russian mob, and you can't convince me otherwise. He decides to take her home.
Yulia, come!
Papa, what are you doing?
Get in.
What are you doing?
To the Mercedes.
What are you doing?
But not just home. He actually plans to take her to Florida to keep her safe. But see, it's just too late. John Carver shows up at their house to execute his own hit on them. In the meantime, though, Jessica and Scuba make a pit stop at the McCarty party to get some protection. What is the McCarty party? Well, this guy throws a party every year where he gets a bunch of alcohol and sells it to high school students. He's kind of a loser, but his family does own the local gun store, and he gives Scuba a gun to protect them. He's actually a good person at heart, and this is further proven later when he gives Jessica a ring that his dad wore in the military, telling her that it always kept him safe.
What's this?
Oh, it's my dad's ring from Iraq. He said it kept him alive. If you want, wear it for good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jessica and Scuba head to Yulia's house, but arrive just too late. John Carver disembowels her with a freaking table saw.
What do I do, Jess? Jess, what do I do?
It's absolutely brutal. The Wright family participates in the Thanksgiving parade, a ploy by the police to draw Carver out. However, Carver, disguised once more, capitalizes on the distraction. He decapitates a mascot, ignites some smoke bombs, and plunges the event into pure chaos. Seizing the opportunity, he abducts Jessica, her stepmother Kathleen, Thomas, and Scuba. Kathleen, ever unfortunate, is prepared and cooked alive at Carver's hidden lair. Her gruesome corpse is then presented as the turkey centerpiece at a disturbing dinner table, surrounded by the other hostages and victims' lifeless bodies. Carver, in a very horrifying display, bludgeons Evan to death in a live-streamed spectacle. This scene gets way more disturbing, though. He fills a wine glass with blood and even carves a piece of meat off of Kathleen's leg. Then he tries to frickin' feed it to Thomas.
She'll pair nicely with Kathleen. You might want to let that breathe.
It's literally so gross. Seizing a chance for escape, though, Jessica and Scuba flee the table using the ring McCarty gave her, which actually has a small blade hidden in it. Carver gives chase to a frantic Jessica outside and into the woods. She does manage to escape and then finds the sheriff, injured and lying on the pavement. She sees someone moving in the distance and enters the building filled with parade floats. There, she does see Bobby disguised in the Carver costume. However, Sheriff Newland joins her, urging her to go back outside. Gunshots echo through the building, but Bobby is nowhere to be found.
He's in there. I think I shot him. Then I lost him.
The cops tell Jessica that her friends and dad are okay. She then notices some brambles stuck to Newland's pants, the same stuff that were on her clothes from the woods that she was running through. Then it hits her. He's the killer. Newland spills the beans about his messed up life. After his wife left him, he hooked up with Amanda. They were gonna be a thing, but then the Right Mart chaos happened and Amanda and their unborn child died. He blamed everyone involved for the riot, thinking they were responsible for the tragedy.
You took my family from me.
To pin it on someone else, he had kidnapped Bobby and dressed him up as John Carver. Jessica then drops a bombshell on Newlon, though.
What are you thankful for?
The service in here.
She live-streamed his whole confession, exposing him to everyone. The sheriff goes berserk and tries to attack her, but Bobby steps in to save the day. Newlon loses it and tries to kill Jessica for messing up his whole plan. Jessica, being the badass that she is, grabs her mom's bracelet and uses it to load a musket. She shoots down a balloon connected to a gas tank, causing a huge explosion. Jessica's father, Gabby, and Scuba are all safe, and Bobby is taken to the hospital. And the sheriff is seemingly dead. Or is he? They don't find his body, which could be a setup for the sequel. Sometime later, Jessica is in bed with Ryan and has nightmares of a fiery Newlon trying to kill her. And that is where this story ends. For now. Again, I like this movie a lot. It's just so much fun, and I have a good time with it. I can't wait for the sequel. But as I said before, this movie is not perfect. It does have some issues, which I'll get into, but first let's talk about the positives. First off, the gore. The special effects are amazing in this movie. The gore is spectacular, but it's not like Terrifier levels of gore. This is like almost the limit of what you can do with an R rating in terms of blood and brutality. It's approaching that. The kills are also really unique, which I appreciate. I mean, you have Kathleen literally being roasted and served like a Thanksgiving turkey. You also have the dumpster kill with the waitress. And I also love the opening scene of the film. It's pure chaos, but it is so accurate when you really think about it. People spend all day talking about how thankful they are and being loving to one another, and then they go turn into absolute monsters for a damn waffle iron. The entire cast actually does a phenomenal job, in my opinion. And here's something about me. I love movies set in that Boston, kind of New England area. I've always loved that accent, and hearing it in a slasher movie was just amazing. Something else this movie does really well is recreate the vibe of an 80s slasher. Sure, it is modernized in some aspects, but there are a lot of elements still there. And that's by design. That's what Eli Roth and Jeff Rendell were going for, and I think they nailed it. But let's talk about some of the issues I have with the movie. First and foremost, I think the killer was pretty obvious the whole time. I mean, they told us who it was with the very first shot of the movie. They literally told us with that POV. And the way that Sheriff Newlon was wording things throughout the film was also very telling. I mean, they telegraphed the whole thing for sure. Also, some of the dialogue can be a bit cheesy at times, and I'm not saying that it's completely awful, and maybe it was written that way on purpose, but it was a little bit too much for me in some parts. I would have also liked to see some of the characters get a little bit more development. A lot of them just feel one-dimensional to an extent. I honestly don't have much else to say other than that. I don't like looking at movies trying to find things wrong with them. I do the best I can to be open-minded and just enjoy them for what they are. Overall, Thanksgiving is a really fun movie that pays tribute to classic slasher films such as The Prowler, My Bloody Valentine, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and so many more. I think it makes the perfect addition to any movie rotation for turkey season. Also, I'm going to be implementing a rating system into my reviews from here on out. It's nothing spectacular, but it is going to be a star system. And unlike Dave Meltzer, I'm going to do my best to not break the system. So, let's rate this rematch. Thanksgiving gets 4.25 stars. I'll also be posting a chart of some sort in the future that explains how the system works. But there you have it. That's going to do it for this episode of Ringside Review. Let me know down in the comments what you think about Thanksgiving. Did you like it or did you hate it? Let's have a discussion. If you're interested in Redcon 1 products, I have a discount code that you can use to save 20% off of your entire order. Be sure to check that out. You can also find all of my merchandise available at prowrestlingtees.com/AndrewDreamer or right under this video here on the channel. And I've also been working on the WWH Patreon page, so be sure to head over there and check out some of those perks, or consider becoming a member right here on YouTube. All of the links are in the description below. Don't forget to like this video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss any of the hard-hitting action here at WWH. Now that we've reviewed Thanksgiving, what did I think about Black Christmas? Luckily, you can find out by watching the video that's appearing on your screen right now. And remember, in the squared circle of horror, there are no countouts for nightmares. My name is Andrew Dreamer, and this is Wrestling with Horror.